Let's get into best bets in college football, and we have the biggest and most exciting games here on the board. Ragoo goes after the big dogs, man. I love his lineup of games, so let's get right after it. We start at 12 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. The number 8 ranked USC Trojans 4-0, 2-0 in the Pac-12 at the Colorado Buffalo Neon Dion Primetime Sanders Buffaloes 3-1, 0-1 in the Pac-12. We're in Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. It's an early start for both of these squads. Let's get into the line history here for this huge game. Let's get into it right now. Sorry, let me just quickly move over to college football. We'll get over to the Saturday action, and there it is, USC Colorado. Colorado, we're going to go to Pinnacle line movements here as we do. Colorado sitting at plus 21.5 at minus 109. They opened up at plus 22.5. It's a 1-point move towards the Buffalo. Let's get over to the total here for Colorado. And we have it's sitting at 74.5. Ooh-wee. This opened up 73.5. It's now 74.5. It is juiced to the under. Let's get over to the cash flow for this giant football game. We have, okay, move over here. Did I go too far? Let's get over to Saturday action. And God, sorry, my fault. Let me move this up here. There we go. We have 60% of the tickets and 81% of the cash on USC. 61 and 81. From a total perspective here, we have 51% of the tickets and 82% cash on the over. Steve G on USC money line and the under. Nasty Nick says Red Sox smash. Wine Time says USC gave up 28 points to Arizona State University. He says he will be betting Colorado plus 21.5. Colorado was in a very hostile environment last week and faced a good defense in Oregon. This USC defense is non-existent, especially against Sanders and this offense. Yes, that is appealing here. That is appealing. Yes, that's a 10 a.m. local start. 10 a.m. local start here for this spot. The Trojans opened up their season with 3 dominant performances, at least offensively. Maybe you say the San Jose State game wasn't one, and that's fair. They won at home, defeating San Jose State 56-28, then Nevada 66-14, followed that up by beating Stanford 56-10. Then last week, they went out on the road for the first time and defeated Arizona State just 42-28 as 34.5-point favorites. I like fading teams on their first road game of the year. And you'll see that come up in my spots, my best bets to start the week. And, we didn't see it in certain situations. If a team has been like the Miami Hurricanes have been, shit on, and Mario Cristobal's team being shit on for so long that they go out and go play Temple, and it's a real easy situation for them to be pumped up for. But generally, that was a great spot to back Arizona State. And it was just 24-21 halfway through the third quarter. The Trojans scoring 55 points per game. They're putting up 569.3 yards per game. Caleb Williams is a monster. 15 touchdowns, 1 pick. But defense is an issue. They gave up 28 points to Arizona State. Arizona State moved the ball all game. They went 9 of 20 on third down. They're allowing these weak opponents to put up 364.5 yards per game. What will Neon Dion's Colorado Buffaloes be able to do? They opened up with that unbelievable 45-42 win at TCU before smashing Nebraska at home 36-14. And then came some adversity, the 43-35 double overtime victory at Colorado State. And last week we saw a very hungry Oregon Duck squad put a beating on the Buffaloes 42-6 in Eugene as 21-point favorites. Oregon outgained Colorado 522-199. Now we get to see Shedeur Sanders and Colorado and see what they're made of. Sanders, 76.9% completion percentage, 1,410 yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick. They should be able to get points here. Take it away for us, Doc. Best bet number 1 from the Big Ragoo. Floor is yours.
Yeah, these are games I put together for the show that I like a lot, and I'll hang a best bet on them. I'll hang out of a 5-star play. I put it at a strong 4+, but only the best for our guys in the chat. This particular spot here, right? We heard the Dion hype. We heard all of it. And Oregon wasn't going to have any part of that shit. They're like, you know what? Now I don't want to watch, guys. You're playing big boy ball now. I get the first 2 W's for the upset win with TCU. I get that. I get the Nebraska, which already had that as one of their 2.5 team total wins, which they've already clipped that early in the year. If you bet Colorado, they were the lowest in FBS. 2.5 was the team total over the wins, and that cashed, right? So we're good to go there. But now, we're in big boy football, and USC, I bet them early on with the Arizona State game. I had a team total over with them there. I don't think they covered the number on that particular game, the plus 34 cash in that particular spot. But then they've been in all over games for 62 and a half, 62 and a half, 66 and a half. And when it hit 70, when they played Stanford, Stanford didn't do their part. USC won 56-10. So now how does Colorado pick themselves off the ground after getting smashed in the mouth? They will do that. Colorado is going to score points in this game because USA will let them score points. When I say let them, they're defensively are not going to be up to the task to kind of slow down. So teams that will score 28 points or better will put the game over for USC in that regard. I know it's a high number. It's huge. It's 74 points. That's a big, big number. It's 74 for a reason, guys. It's 74 for a reason. My numbers have Deion's team scoring 30-plus points in this particular spot, and I have USC scoring 50-plus numbers here. So my number look is into the 80s on this. I've got about 8+ points of value here on the total. So I'm going to be all over this fucking over like a cheap suit. I think Colorado, can they keep it close within the number? It's going to go down to one score for Colorado where they can eclipse the 30 and the higher 30s. If they do that, if Colorado can score 35, then they'll cover the number. If they can't, they won't cover. But USC is definitely going to be in the 50s. Colorado will be in the 30s. This game climbs over 80 with ease, so I'm on the over.
That's going to be a fun watch for you. And we do have a 73.5 minus 108 at Heritage, the best spot on the board. Ragoo moves on the over 73.5 at minus
they'll pick themselves up.
108.
They'll dust themselves off a little bit, get back to So usually when you get punched, college is not like the pros. We all know that. Usually when a college, when the kids get beat up pretty good, they have a tough time bouncing back. But they were expected to lose that game. I think they respond with another effort here. I wouldn't say embarrassed, but it's kind of embarrassing loss for them. It was an expected loss, but I think they answered the bell here. Obviously they're not going to win the game. I'm not going to say there's no way because anything's possible, but I see a lot better effort out of Deion and his gang against USC, who's able to let them score. Oregon's built differently than USC. The USC a lot of points, but they're also scored a ton of points on this Colorado squad.
And Mr. Vape says, what is USC's team total? The team total for USC, 48.5, juice to the under. Team total for Colorado, 25.5, juice to the over.
Yeah.
All right, Doc is on the board. Let's move on to best bet number 2 from the Big Ragoo. Virginia Cavaliers 0-4, 0-1 in the ACC. At the Boston College Eagles 1-3, 0-2 in the ACC. We're at Alumni Stadium in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Let's get into the line history for this one. Pops off at 2 p.m. And here we go. This has gone through the big important number of 3. This opened up. Oh, Pinnacle's still hanging the 3. So Pinnacle hasn't moved it to 3.5 yet like the other books. In fact, they had. And it came back at 9:43 this morning. Wow. So this finally got to the 3.5 at 9:39. And Virginia buyback brought it right back to 3 within 3 minutes. Huh. Very, very, very interesting. From a total scenario here, we are sitting at 55. Pinnacle is hanging a 54.5, and this opened up at 56, so a 1.5 drop down. Then we get into the cash flow for this one. Cash-wise, 43% of the tickets, 49% of the cash on Virginia. Then 60% of the tickets and 88% of cash on the over, yet it's dropping. Virginia has now lost 7 straight games. Opened up their season by getting beaten badly by Tennessee at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, 49-13, before losing their home opener in the heartbreaker, 36-35 to James Madison. Now they were 6-point dogs. They covered. They then traveled to Maryland, imploded in the fourth quarter of a 42-14 loss, 3 picks in the fourth quarter. And I mean, it was 21-14 late, but fell apart. Then last week they played ex-quarterback Brennan Armstrong in the Wolfpack. Tough 24-21 loss at home as 8-point dogs. Calandria has looked good. He's looked good, but 6 interceptions and 5 touchdowns. But what did you expect from a 3-star recruit that's 5'10" and he's a freshman? Boston College opened their season with a shock loss at home in overtime to Northern Illinois' 8-point favorites. Then they barely got by FCS Holy Cross at home 31-28. That's why it was a big surprise when they almost defeated then number 3 Florida State at home, losing 31-28 as 25.5-point dogs. And they deserved to win that game. They outgained the Seminoles 457-350. Keep in mind, for my action, Florida State, first road game against a team that, does not, does anybody really care? And they didn't show up. Now, all of that momentum got snapped last week for Boston College in a 56-28 loss at Louisville as 14-point dogs. But 5'10" sophomore quarterback Thomas Castellanos continues to impress. Take it away for us here, Doc. Game number 2 on your card, Cavaliers, Eagles.
Yeah. The key point there, like you said, when Boston College came out of that FSU game, they should have won without a doubt. Then they go play a real tough Louisville squad. They didn't cover in that game. The game did go over. All these games have gone over for Boston College: 53, 48, 52.5, 50.5. So they're able to put 24, 31, 28, 29 points on the board. Virginia has some offensive struggles. They really do. Even though, like you say, Calandria, he's had some decent, the true freshman coming off the bench, earning that job, taking over that team. But it's a team still looking for their first win. They really are. And I know there's been a little bit of pushback coming back on their way for the 3.5. But I think they're going to have a tough ask against Boston College up in Boston, trying to get that win on the road, just in reality, I think the numbers are way too short here. I got this better than a touchdown in my book for Boston College. I think they played the tougher games, even though they covered. They didn't cover against Holy Cross. That's a sleepy game, just like Florida State going in there, almost walking away with the L there. But I think this game would be more focused for them. Getting back in conference play too. Third game in conference play. First 2 out of conference, third game in conference. So they want to chalk up a cup for conference wins. And Virginia's still looking to get a W. I think this is a great spot for Boston College to cover that number, even though it's pushed back at 3, 3.5, whatever. I got them by a touchdown or better here. So I'm on Boston College.
Boston College, do you want the 3?
Yeah, I'll take the 3. You're going to give me a 3, I'll take the 3. I mean, 3 is the key number, right? 3, 7, 10, those are the numbers. So anytime I can get to a 3, I'll take it, without laying minus 125 or something like that.
Boston College, this is music to our guy Nasty Nate's ear. Boston College -3, -115 available right now at Pinnacle. All right, it is my turn to fire off a best bet. 3:30 p.m. Eastern, the number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines 4-0, 1-0 in the Big Ten at Nebraska Cornhuskers 2-2, 0-1 in the Big Ten. We're at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. Let's move over to the line history here for this one. Total wise, it's very low. We're sitting at a 39.
Wow.
39. This opened up at 40.5 and has dropped to 39. Then we'll go into the spread here. The spread is sitting at +17. It opened up at +18. When this opened up at 18, and this was on Sunday at 7:42 p.m., at midnight that night, it moved a full 1.5 in Nebraska's direction to 16.5. That's a big move. It's a big move. Now it bounced back 10 hours later to 17. Since it's been at 17, there's been times when this plus 17 has been juiced up to minus 117. There's been times when this 17 has been juiced down to minus 106. But right now it's minus 115 for Nebraska. Plus 17 at minus 115. Steve G on Michigan and the over. Here we go. Let's go over to... Oh, that's both everything. Let's go over to the cash flow. The cash flow here is 61% of the tickets are on Michigan. The public, of course, is on Michigan. 44% of the cash, though. So Nebraska is 39 and 56. 37% of tickets are on the under and 72% of cash. 72% of cash on the under. Michigan's defense has looked dominant in 4 easy home wins. Victories over East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers. They've outscored their opposition 127-23. They've been dominating opposing offenses at home, at the Big House, in front of 100,000 fans. Last week against Rutgers, as 24-point favorites, they didn't take the lead until there was 1 minute and 41 seconds left in the second quarter. Yeah, they slowly wear down their opposition. But all those games have taken place in their stadium, in their situation, in front of their fans. Now they head out onto the road against a weak Nebraska squad. Nebraska opened their season with road losses at Minnesota 13-10 and Colorado 36-14. Then they came home to Lincoln. They defeated Northern Illinois 35-11 as just 11.5-point favorites. The Matt Rule defense held the Huskies to 149 total yards. Then they were a little sloppier defensively against La Tech. They beat them at home 28-14 as 20.5-point favorites. They ran for 312 yards in the win. What has changed? Yes, they've come home, but it's this 6'5" sophomore quarterback dual threat Heinrich Harburg. He's been under center, and he's changed the dynamic of this offense. He's been leading the team in the passing and rushing game. He's run 42 times for 272 yards. That's 6.5 yards per carry for 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, he's only completing 51.1% of his passes, but the dual threat is a big deal. And they love to run the ball. Matt Rule loves to run the ball. They're averaging 234.8 rushing yards per game right now. Does Michigan care about coming to Lincoln to play Nebraska? Because this is the biggest game of the season for the Cornhuskers. Yes, Michigan dominated Nebraska last year, 34-3, but that was in Michigan at the Big House. Matt Rule is building momentum with his squad. How good is J.J. McCarthy? Sure, he's completed 80% of his passes, 915 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 3 picks. 8 touchdowns and 3 picks against those minnows. Look at who they went up: East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers. You're going to only throw 8 touchdowns and 3 picks? Blake Corum looks good, 6.1 yards per attempt. He's not going to do that here against Nebraska. Wine Time Sports says he will be betting Nebraska. I will be betting Nebraska. Steve G says Nebraska only scored 1 TD versus a crappy Colorado defense. That was not with Heinrich Harburg in control of the offense. They're a different team now. They're at home in their biggest game of the season. My best bet on the board is Nebraska plus 17. And I bet it. Take it away, Doc. What do you think of my look on the Huskers?
I fucking love it. I love it. Now, I got a strong lean on Nebraska. I haven't made it official, but that was one of the first games I looked at, and I thought about not making it a best bet. But when I looked at it, I said, you know what? This is all Nebraska. It's got to be all sharp Nebraska money coming this way, because the total is going to indicate it, number one. So if you like Nebraska, and you're looking at a 40-point game, what's that telling you? That's telling you that Nebraska is going to control the pace. On the offensive side, they're going to slow the game down for Michigan. And usually Rule is not a guy – he's a pro. He turns programs around. He's done it twice. And both times, I think he's won like a total of 3 games. We're not asking Nebraska to win here, guys. We're asking them to kind of, just be competitive and make the game kind of – make some things go their way. So definitely don't see a Michigan blowout here. I see Nebraska, competing at home. Like you said, big game at home for them. This is their college championship game. Yeah, it's year 1 for them with Rule, and I get that. And we know Michigan's ranked number 2 in the nation. And everything's telling. The spread, the total, all indicators point to Nebraska on this game as far as the numbers are concerned. They don't come away with the win, but maybe it's one of these, like Jimmy said, one of these sleeper games. Who cares, Michigan thinks they're going to go in there and just, come out with the W. and that's the look on this game for me too. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Nebraska would be the play.
I love it. I love it. And then Michigan, of course, next week is in Minnesota. So they have back-to-back road games. I can't wait to cap that Minnesota game after what we see here in this game. Is this something that you want to make official for your college football record?
Not at this particular moment, but I should. But I'm not going to do it on the show.
Cool. All good. Let's move on to Big Ragoo best bet number 3 here, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, I led people into a bear pit when I was on Sam Houston last week. Now, the side still went 3-2-1. The under was a mess immediately. I got in live on the under 46.5, and I mean, I only cashed that by 1.5, but I covered the loss on the total. I didn't cover loss on the side. I knew that there was a problem when I retweeted Doc's action, and his 2-unit best bet was on the Houston Cougars. And I've gone back. So what did I miss? What was I doing wrong? And of course, looking back at it, this was after Houston lost so badly to TCU. Of course, they were going to be ready to play a double-digit dog in-state rival. That was a mistake. It was a mistake, and it's important to say, it's important in horse racing too. What did I do wrong here? And go over it. What did I do wrong? Don't make the same mistakes. Remember, what the problem with our look on the fading the Cougars last week was we were selling them low. And it's a mistake to sell any team low. You only sell them high. And when you did your 2-unit bet on the Cougars, I was instantly filled with fear. Let's see what Doc does this week. Houston Cougars at Texas Tech Red Raiders. We're at Jones AT&T Stadium in Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah, that was like you said, a 2-unit play for me. I did use my best bet was Wake Forest -3.5, and that crashed and burned immensely against Georgia Tech. But I'm coming back to them, and the look this week is a little differently, but it's still an offensive look because I had the over. I had a very strong lean on the over on that game too. And I think we get that look this week too against Tech here. It's in-state rival, somewhat of an in-state rival. Kids get recruited to go to the same schools and everything. And Houston offensively is definitely up to the challenge here. And I like what Tech is always one of these teams that we think about teams in the Big 12 that kind of step up on the defensive side of the ball. We talk about Oklahoma State. We talk about Texas Tech when they should be stepping up for the defenses, and they don't. And I don't see Tech really. I see them scoring points against Houston. This is a game, after they're coming off a big offensive effort where, they're going to get up again for that same type of effort. I think they're going to come up a little short here on the defensive side. Both teams will. I think Tech is going to probably get up in the 30s. The mid 30s, and I think Houston gets up in the higher 20s. They don't put the numbers up they put up last week, but they definitely get on the board here. Both teams do, and I think it's low-hanging fruit on the total here. I think we're seeing like 50-some-odd points, low 50s. I could see this game getting into the middle 60s with ease. So yeah, you put me on the total here on the over. I think I think Houston still presents some value as a dog too. I do lean taking the points here. I think 2 scores is too many. I think it comes to a 1-score game, but I still like going over. And I think some of the markets push back on the under. Right? What's the numbers on the under with the market?
Huge move to the under.
Yeah. See, everybody always thinks that Tech's going to push that defense, but I think Houston's offense is up to it. So if you like the under, you got to like Houston here, just for the fact that. The Houston keep it close, but I still think the game gets over in total. I think there's two. I think it's an overlay with the price on the side. So, but I still like I like the over better. I don't think there's going to be a big defensive push by Tech. I think Houston's still going to put points up. You think I'm talking on the Houston side, right? But no, I'm taking the over. I'm taking Tech to score. I'm taking Houston to score. It puts the game over the total.
This total opened up at 56.
Yeah, I think it's gone too far is what I'm trying to say. It's gone too far.
50.5.
Yeah, I'm catching a better number for the over. So, and I've been known to do that a time or two.
All right, Ragoo is on the over 50.5 here, minus 105, because even now it's juiced to the under. From a side perspective here, this open Texas Tech minus 10, they're down to minus 7.5.
Yeah, Houston's definitely the play too.
Wow, Houston also the look here. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. 71% of the tickets, 67% of the cash on Houston market moving in their direction. 89% of the tickets and 96% of the cash on the under. And our guy Doc going into the teeth of that. Kong's Clips, my man, thank you for the support. Respect. And Coin moved on Nebraska plus 17 last night. I love it. So just a quick background of the situation here. Houston outgained the Bearcats 538 to 178. Donovan Smith, looked strong. Samuel Brown, Matthew Golden, Joseph Manjack, they were all rolling. And it's been a rough start for Texas Tech. They opened up with a double overtime 35-33 loss at Wyoming before almost beating Oregon at home 38-30. Now, they were just 4.5-point dogs in that spot. Then they beat up on FCS Tarleton 41-3 before going to West Virginia last week and losing 2013 as 6-point favorites. For 3 years in a row, Tyler Shugg, is he the guy? We've asked this for 3 years in a row. What is your answer to, is Tyler Shugg the guy? No?
I don't know, man. I'm so far, just I mean, there's going to come a point in time where they're going to get fed up, and but you got to win those key games on the road and conference games like that. You got to win them. You got to win them, and that's a letdown spot. It's a major letdown game for them. So I think they bounce back this way. I think they score points, but I think it's too many. I really think it's too many.
Here is the last spot on the board. It is my best bet. Here we go. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs, 4-0, 1-0 in the SEC. At the Auburn Tigers, 3-1, 0-1 in the SEC. We're in Auburn, Alabama for this one. Let's go into the line history here for Auburn, Georgia. When I look at these things to correlate, and they don't fully correlate, we know what Kirby does on the road with Georgia. They cover on the road. They don't cover at home, for whatever reason. So you could say that it doesn't all correlate. But when I'm looking for certain things to match up, I rarely get the marquee games. Usually it's the quieter, smaller schools. But this all worked together for me here. Auburn opening up at plus 16.5 and now at plus 14.5. That move from 16.5 to 14.5 took 12 hours. 12 hours, but that's a big move. 1.5 move to Auburn. From a cash flow scenario, let's go into the total in this spot. And here we go for this one at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. It's sitting at 47, and it opened up at 47. Opened up and is sitting at. So, Rant says Georgia should smash Auburn quarterback bad. Well, they're using 3 now. And yes, everybody's going to be on Georgia. All of these bets that I've been giving out here on sides, they've been going up against the public. I'm doing it again here. 31% of the tickets and 37% of the cash is on Auburn. 52% of the tickets and 97% of cash is on the over. So Georgia comes in off of 4 home games to start the season. Same thing with Michigan. 4 home games, comfort, all that. They opened up by beating up on FCS UT Martin 48-7. Then they did the same to Ball State 45-3. Then came a surprisingly close game with South Carolina, defeating them 24-14 as 27-point favorites. They were down 14-3 at the half.
Yeah, third quarter. After
that disappointing effort, they didn't come close to covering UAB 49-21 at home as 40-point favorites. Now, look, their defense is still very, very good. And Kirby Smart is 22-12 against the spread on the road. That's the 6th best record in all of college football. And they don't cover at home for whatever reason. So, he's a really good coach. Auburn has dominated minnows in their 2 home games this year. They beat up on UMass 59-14 and FCS Samford 45-13. They've not covered their road games. We were all on Cal in that 14-10 win for Auburn. It got down to 5, but we got in at 6.5. Cal should have won that game outright, but Hugh Freeze, they got the job done. And they lost badly to Texas A&M last week, 27-10 as 9.5-point dogs. Auburn has scored 24 points combined against the 2 Power 5 opponents on the season. Nobody's going to want them this week. Nobody. And the market's moving in their direction. Peyton Thorne was awful. 6 of 12 for 44 yards in the loss. They could be using 3 different quarterbacks on Saturday. Auburn only had 200 yards of offense. It was 3 of 15 on third down. That's where I want a college football team. I want them just getting slapped in the face, and I want them to be so intense all week at practice, knowing that the number 1 team in the nation is coming to town. That's what I want. That's what I want from Auburn. This is Hugh Freeze's biggest spot all season, the toughest spot all season, the one he's been planning for months. You think that he was strategizing the Cal game in the offseason, or do you think he was planning on how he's going to handle Georgia coming to Auburn, Alabama? I'm on Auburn at plus 14.5 in Georgia's first road game. What do you think of this spot here, Doc?
I think it's a tough spot. I really do. I mean, I love the theory. I mean, I love, and I was the guy who was saying last year after about the second or third game that Hugh Freeze was going to be coaching at Auburn. So in the back of his mind, if it came to fruition when they got rid of Harsin, it was a toxic environment last year, and Boss can tell you all about the Harsin issue down there. But to tell you the truth, I didn't think they would have 3 games under their belt already, Auburn. I figured this is where it really gets tough for them going forward. They'll be lucky to win a game in the SEC the rest of the way out. I'll go on record saying that right now. But all things being fair to Freeze, he is going to get that program turned around. And if there's a spot for him to get this team motivated, this is absolutely the game of the year for them, right? Like you were saying. But my only question is, does he have the talent to compete? I know he has a game plan to put it in play, but whether he puts the product on the field that's going to slow Georgia down. Now, to be fair to Georgia, or not to be fair to Georgia, they got a young quarterback, Carson Beck, who's trying to gain traction and get that program going. But like you said, the defense with Georgia, it's still there. So they might have their offensive struggles. It's just if Georgia's going to make something happen, it's going to be defensively. And you see the low number there. I mean, come on, it's a 47. Georgia could trip over 47 points in normal circumstances, but they're going to have their struggles. They really are. So I see a very low scoring game here, and that bodes well for your plus point scenario too. So it's not one I'm going to get to the window with, but I understand the logic. But I'm on shaky ground with this spot here.
I get it. I was happy that you supported one of them, really, because I know these aren't popular spots.
I mean, I don't hate it. I just think it's going to be a real tough spot but the new quarterback for Georgia, playing on the road, like you said, unfamiliarity for that role for this kid, but he's going to be developed. But Kirby thinks he can win now, so that's why they're going with this kid. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I get it. I get the look. I don't hate it. I don't like it either, but I don't hate it either. How's that?
I hear you. Auburn Tigers at home. Nobody is going to be on them, and yet the market is moving towards them.
Yeah, well, you're on the side with the sharps right now, so they know something. So hopefully, they know enough.
We'll see. And I wouldn't be doing this if Georgia had road games under their belt. I wouldn't be betting this. Simply,
I like the angle. I love the angle. And it's been working. Keep cashing, my man. Keep cashing.
Well, let's see. What a treat it is to cap sports with you, Doc. We are also fortunate that you run with us. So I'm on Auburn plus 14.5. Doc is on the over 50.5 in Houston, Texas Tech. I am on Nebraska plus 17. Doc is on Boston College minus 3. And he's on the over 73.5 in USC, Colorado.